One of the most common questions I get is how do you deal with bad tenants? If you've watched any of my other stuff, you know that I'm a big advocate for inner city investing and low income investing. Investing in those areas obviously attracts good returns, good yields, but also a little bit of risk, right? Because the people that you're renting your property out to are those who are most easily affected by drops in the economy and financial constraints. And we saw with COVID, I lost roughly 40% of my property income because all of my tenants were those who were affected by most of the job losses. So my advice to those looking to how to deal with bad tenants is don't have any bad tenants. Make sure that before you get to that stage of having a bad tenant, you've vetted the person, and you've determined the risks. So instead of doing an eviction, make sure that you get your vetting process run right correctly from the beginning, because then you won't have evictions to deal with. Now, with that being said, I always do recommend that you get a managing agent in, someone who's got experience in vetting tenants. Um, the way that I tend to do it is I'll have my letting agent get all the information. So, get salaries, get bank statements, get the TPN credit report, all of that information. They then send it to me to give final approval. So I like to have them do that work so that they can kind of filter out the bad tenants and just give me one or two good ones to look at, and then I can make a decision based on that report, on that credit score. So let's jump into a quick report of two tenants, and I can show you a good tenant versus a bad tenant application. So here we're going to look at a TPN credit report of two tenants, of two people. The one is a poor tenant, or one that I would not allow into my building, and the other one is a decent tenant with relatively low risk. This report contains a lot of sensitive information. It contains information about the specific person, their ID number, their name, their contact details, their employment history, their debt reviews, their debts outstanding. So a lot of the information I can't share with you because I obviously need to protect the individuals in this report's rights and data, but I will just share with you some non-personal information. So with this specific tenant or application, this is probably the most important page that I will look at when I'm considering whether I want to bring in someone or not. So first of all, TPN, gives some sort of rating from A to F. F being probably the worst. So immediately I would not even consider this person. Maybe it could be that this report is out of date, or they've got, let's say, a judgment against them that should be overruled, but they just haven't gotten through the process yet. That's something that I would maybe consider. But this is not looking good. They're getting an F score, which means that their payment history is poor. Can they afford it? Highly unlikely. The probability of squatting is average. So, if we look at her credit card payments of this specific tenant, 50% of the time she's making no payments. And then the other 50% is a split between, paid on time, grace period, and paid late. She currently does have some defaults, and she's under debt review. And then this is quite an interesting little image or visual, because it shows you the months that she did not pay versus the months that she did pay. So this credit card payment here, this is just a visual of how she paid over the last 12 months, which probably gives you an indication of how she might likely pay you as a landlord. So this is really not good. I think it's a very negative report, this one, and this would be an immediate disqualification from my perspective. Here is a credit report of a tenant that I really liked. Part of this report, she also gave bank statements. She gave her signed letter of employment. So she really did put a lot of effort into it. You can see here that she's got a C scoring, which means that she's an average payer. She probably can afford, and there's a low level of her squatting. In terms of her credit card payments, 84% of the time she's on good payments, and you can see the same kind of graph where, a couple of months she's short. That's pretty normal. That's why I budget about 8 to 10% vacancies with all of my deals, because I'm very aware that there's some months that the tenants are going to be short and those kind of things. So this is not a tenant that is zero risk. There's still some risk, but if you compare tenant 1, the F score, versus tenant 2, the C score, you can see a significant reduction in risk. This is the kind of tenant that I would place, and assuming that, they pay everything on time, will carry on as normal. If they do start to miss payments, then you follow the eviction process by sending a letter of demand and slowly but surely getting them out of your property. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share with friends and family, and until next time, happy investing.